Good evening and welcome to our daily devotional reading. Happy Sunday. Let's close our eyes. Take a moment to become synchronized, to see if we can synchronize with each other, to connect with the other members of the imaginary or make-believe monastery. Being all of us parts of a whole, and each part containing the entire whole. I feel a tingling in my hands. See if you can feel a tingling in your hands. Pay attention to the sensations in your hands. My palms are pressed against each other as my fingers intertwined. And my hands are pulsing at this moment. Then let's take a deep breath together. Breathing out what we need to let go of in order to just have fun, to enjoy this game, this playing together. Discovering as much as we possibly can about this strange, weird, extraordinary phenomenon of which we are a part. Existence. Something that came into being somehow. Or weird is still something that has always been. And yet here we are for the briefest of moments, at least as far as we know. I can feel my heartbeat now. It jumped up at me almost, as if begging my attention. It's quiet now again. Maybe it was your heartbeat calling mine. We are all interconnected. And this is not a cult. Let's read Plato. We contrived at last, somehow or other, to agree in a general conclusion that he who had wisdom and had no need of fortune. I'd rather have fortune, thank you very much, or fortunate too, at least. I then recalled to his mind the previous state of the question. You remember, I said, our making the admission that we should be happy and fortunate if many good things were present with us. He assented. And should we be happy by reason of the presence of good things, if they profited us, or if they profited us not? If they profited us, he said. Profited. And would they profit us if we only had them and did not use them? For example, if we had a great deal of food and did not eat, or a great deal of drink and did not drink, should we be profited? Certainly not, he said. Or would an artisan who had all the implements necessary for his work and did not use them be any the better for the possession of them? For example, would a carpenter be any the better for having all his tools and plenty of wood if he never worked? Certainly not, he said. And if a person had wealth and all the goods of which we were just now speaking, and did not use them, would he be happy because he possessed them? No, indeed, Socrates. Then I said, a man who would be happy must not only have the good things, but he must also use them. There is no advantage in merely having them. True. Well, Clinias, but if you have the use as well as the possession of good things, is that sufficient to confer happiness? Yes, in my opinion. There I go again. And may a person use them either rightly or wrongly? Oh, he must use them rightly. That is quite true, I said. And the wrong use of the thing is far worse than the non-use, for the one is an evil, and the other is neither a good nor an evil. You admit that? He assented. Now, in the working and use of wood, is not that which gives the right use simply the knowledge of the carpenter? Nothing else, he said. And surely, in the manufacture of vessels, knowledge is that which gives the right way of making them. He agreed. And in the use of the goods of which we spoke at first, wealth and health and beauty is not knowledge that which directs us to the right use of them and regulates our practice about them. He assented. Then in every possession and every use of the thing, knowledge is that which gives the man not only good fortune but success. He again assented. And tell me, I said, oh tell me, what do possessions profit a man if he have neither good sense nor wisdom? Through Nasius kai Sophias. What do possessions profit a man? without phronesis and Sophia. Would a man be better off having and doing many things without wisdom, or a few things with wisdom? Look at the matter thus: if he did fewer things, would he not make fewer mistakes? If he made fewer mistakes, would he not have fewer misfortunes? And if he had fewer misfortunes, would he not be less miserable? Certainly, he said. And who would do least, a poor man or a rich man? A poor man. A weak man or a strong man? A weak man. A noble man or a mean man? The other translation and the Greek, if I read it correctly, is a man held in honor or in dishonor. A coward would do less than a courageous and temperate man. Yes. And an indolent man, I don't know how to pronounce that, I'm sorry. Man less than an active man. The other translation has a lazy rather than an industrious man. He assented. And a slow man less than a quick, and one who had dull perceptions of seeing and hearing less than one with keen ones. All this was mutually allowed by us. Then, I said, Clinias, the sum of the matter appears to be that the goods of which we spoke before are not to be regarded as goods in themselves, but the degree of good and evil in them depends on whether they are or are not under the guidance of knowledge. Under the guidance of ignorance, they are greater evils than their opposites, inasmuch as they are more able to minister to the evil principle which rules them. And when under the guidance of wisdom and prudence, I imagine it's again sophrosune. Thronesius. Sophrosune is temperance. Thronesius. They are greater goods, but in themselves they are nothing. That, he replied, is obvious. Yeah, now you say that. Easy to say obvious afterwards, eh? What then is the result of what has been said? Is not the result that other things are indifferent and that wisdom is the only good, and ignorance the only evil? He assented. Let us consider a further point, I said, seeing that all men desire happiness, and happiness, as has been shown, is gained by a use and a right use of the things of life, and the right use of them, and good fortune in the use of them is given by knowledge. The inference is that everybody ought by all means to try and make himself as wise as he can. There's an ought for you. Thou ought not go about on motorcycles during my recording. Where am I? Yes, he said. And when a man thinks that he ought to obtain this treasure, far more than money, from a father or a guardian or a friend or a suitor, whether citizen or stranger, the eager desire and prayer to them that they would impart wisdom to you, is not at all dishonorable, Clinias, nor is anyone to be blamed for doing any honorable service or ministration to any man, whether a lover or not, if his aim is to get wisdom. All is fair in love and wisdom. Do you agree? I said. Yes, he said. I quite agree and think that you are right. Yes, I said, Clinias, if only wisdom can be taught and does not come to man spontaneously, the other translation has of its own accord, or one could say of her own accord. For this, or if you're called to her, for this is a point which has still to be considered and is not yet agreed upon by you and me. But I think, Socrates, that wisdom can be taught, he said. Best of men, I said, I am delighted to hear you say so, and I am also grateful to you for having saved me from a long and tiresome investigation as to whether wisdom can be taught or not. I do believe Socrates is actually of opinion that it can't be taught. But now, if you think that wisdom can be taught and that wisdom only can make a man happy and fortunate, will you not acknowledge that all of us ought to love wisdom, and you individually will try to love her? Certainly, Socrates, he said. I will do my best. I was pleased at hearing this, and I turned to Dionysodorus and Euthydemus and said, that is an example, clumsy and tedious, I admit, of the sort of exhortations which I would have you give. And I hope that one of you will set forth what I have been saying in a more artistic style, or at least take up the inquiry where I left off, and proceed to show the youth whether he should have all knowledge, or whether there is one sort of knowledge only which will make him good and happy. And what that is, I want to know too. For, as I was saying at first, the improvement of this young man in virtue and wisdom is a matter which we have very much at heart. Thus I spoke, Crito, and was all attention to what was coming. I wanted to see how they would approach the question. And where they would start in their exhortation to the young man that he should practice wisdom and virtue. Dionysodorus, who was the elder, spoke first. Everybody's eyes were directed towards him, perceiving that something wonderful might shortly be expected. And certainly they were not far wrong, for the man Crito began a remarkable discourse, well worth hearing and wonderfully persuasive, regarded as exhortation to virtue. Tell me, he said, Socrates and the rest of you who say that you want this young man to become wise, are you in jest or in real earnest? I was led by this to imagine that they fancied us to have been jesting when we asked them to converse with the youth, and that this made them jest and play. And being under this impression, I was the more decided in saying that we were profoundly earnest. Diodorus said, "Reflect, Socrates, you may have to deny your words." "I have reflected," I said, "and I shall never deny these words. I do desire the young man." To become wise. "Well," said he, "and so you say that you wish Clinias to become wise?" "Undoubtedly, and he is not wise as yet. At least his modesty will not allow him to say that he is, plus he is a youth." You wish him," he said, "to become wise and not to be ignorant?" "That we do." "You wish him to be what he is not, and no longer to be what he is?" I was thrown into consternation at this. Taking advantage of my consternation, he added, "You wish him no longer to be what he is, which can only mean that you wish him to perish. Pretty lovers and friends they must be who want their favorite not to be, or to perish." Then Stesippus heard this. He got very angry, as a lover well might, and said, "Stranger of Turi, if politeness would allow me to me, I should say, a plague upon you. What can make you tell such a lie about me and the others, which I hardly like to repeat, as that I wish Clinias to perish?" Euthydemus replied, "And do you think, that it is possible to tell a lie?" "Yes," said C. "I should be mad to say anything else." "And in telling a lie, do you tell the thing of which you speak or not?" "You tell the thing of which you speak, and he who tells that thing which he tells, and no other." "Yes," said C. "And that is a distinct thing apart from other things." "Certainly." "And he who says that things say that which is." "Yes, and he who says that which is says the truth. And therefore Diodorus, if he says that which is, says the truth of you and no lie." "Yes, Euthydemus," said C, "but in saying this, he says what is not." Euthydemus answered, "And that which is not true, and that which is not is nowhere. And can anyone do anything about that which has no existence? Or do to Clinias that which is not and is nowhere?" That's a very different story for a very different place. Nowhere. And can anyone do anything about that which has no existence, or do to Clinias that which is not and is nowhere? "I think not," said C. "Well, but do rhetoricians, when they speak in the assembly, do nothing?" "Nay," he said, "they do something, and doing is making." "Yes, and speaking is doing and making," he agreed. "Then no one says that which is not, for in saying that what is not, he would be doing something, and you have already acknowledged that no one can do what is not, and therefore upon your own showing no one says what is false. But if Dionysius says anything, he says what is true, and what is." "Yes, Euthydemus," said C, "but he speaks of things in a certain way and manner, and not as they really are." We will take up this play with words again further tomorrow. Thus far, our scripture of the evening. I'll start at the top. I don't have that book with me, but I was reading in the Book of the Mystics either today or yesterday or someday. I think it was yesterday, and I think it was Teresa of Avila, I'm not sure, that spoke of why we need to intercede for people who cannot see God. He spoke here of if you have abundance of food and drink, but you do not eat or drink, does it do you any good? And then the answer is of course not. And this mystic, I think Teresa, uses the image of someone sat in front of a banquet, but his hands are tied. I see it as tied behind his back, but I don't think she specifies. Well, it has to be tied behind his back, otherwise you could still eat. His hands are tied behind his back, and so he has all this food in front of him. He could just eat with his mouth. But let's not overanalyze this. He can't reach out. Apparently it's he needs to reach out to get it. He can't reach out to the food, take it and eat it. And so she says prayer, intercession for this person is unbinding his hands so that he's capable of reaching the fruit, the food that is in front of him. Yes, that fruit may have been a Freudian slip. Seeing that the knowledge of good and evil has become visible everywhere. I don't know if it's the plasticity of reality that's causing that, or just because I am now paying attention to it. Probably both. That's the power of attention for you. And then he speaks of a carpenter who knows his tools. And today's, I'm going to read it, I'm not going to try to recite it. Today's Tao Te Ching quote is relevant. It's 74. And again, it will be relevant. I'll jump to that immediately. If you realize that all things change, there is nothing you will try to hold on to. If you aren't afraid of dying, there is nothing you can't achieve. Trying to control the future is like trying to take the master carpenter's place. When you handle the master carpenter's tools, chances are that you'll cut your hand. Is there a way for us to learn the trade of the master carpenter and how to use the tools? That is the question that I was confronted with here. And is that connected with the prayer for opening the eyes of another to see the sacred, the good that is spread out in front of him? So that he may eat to his heart's delight. I might break my own rules if I come back from Rebecca, I'm not sure. And intercede without permission or request. I don't know. It's been a strange 2 days. Then the first part of this, if you realize that all things change, there is nothing you will try to hold on to. If you aren't afraid of dying, there is nothing you can't achieve. These last words that C got so enraged about, that he wished his beloved youth to perish, his favorite. He's accused of that. Made me look at it in a bit of a different light. Or I see it in a different light. Because the question is, do you want him to become wise? And yes, he is not now wise, so he will, in a way, not be who he is anymore. And I was thinking in between the preparation and now, when I read it again, about how the people we love the most and who loves us the most is often the greatest barrier to our transcendence. Because people do have a tendency to want you to be the version of you that they fell in love with, or that they love, be it parents or friends or lovers. It's really hard on others when you change, because you do die, and sometimes just dying yourself is easier than seeing the person who you love not be the person who you love anymore. For instance, when you leave a religion, when you used to be a Christian and you're not anymore, a vegan and you're not anymore, or something like that, when you change, it's the greatest struggle in the change is the fact that you know you will hurt others. But if love is true, if we really care about others, we should allow them to change, to become other than what we love. And I was thinking, I'm lucky. This is a way, maybe that is maybe why my friendships last. I am lucky, and that is the only friendships that do last. People who allow me to be different from whom they once knew, and find it interesting how I change. Exciting. And then there's the odd parallel change that often also takes place. I was thinking specifically of Adele when I was thinking of this. Small things, but that I would post a picture of me with a blanket, and she was like, oh my God, I've got that blanket, exact same blanket. Or we have the same cover for our phones. Last time we met in person, we were like, oh my God, you've got the exact same cover for your phone. Or I would post a picture of reading Heidegger, and she's like, I'm reading Heidegger. So that's like really cool when you like parallel change, but that's not a given. And it's really hard for people to accept that the person they love is not the same, has changed radically often. But if we're not allowed to change radically, what kind of life is that? How would we ever allow ourselves to learn? How could we ever allow ourselves to learn, to discover, if we know we're not allowed to change? What do goods profit the man if he has neither good sense, Thronesis, Theus, or wisdom, Sophias? Nothing. Hence, everybody ought by all means to make themselves as wise as they can. And wisdom takes on many forms. And part of the challenge of loving, I suppose, is to accept that the one you love will find wisdom in ways that you're I don't want to say not capable of, but that is not yours, not your way. Knowledge of good and evil, wisdom being the sole good and ignorance the sole evil. I did have to think about when he was like, well, the worse a man is, the better off if he has no wisdom, if he's only ignorant, because then the harm is less. But I had to think of the banality of evil. And that's not really an excuse. We really don't have any excuse for evil anymore. And if we are responsible for the sins and salvation of every single human being and everything else, as I think Dostoevsky claims, then we're not doing a very good job. I was reading Dostoevsky today because I wait until Folly posts before I read the part, and the call is tonight, so I had to read today. I have a lot of things underlined and marked, and I don't know what's relevant. I was in a different mood when I was reading Dostoevsky. I think I will not speak of the lightning in his eyes, the lightning of his gaze. I will let that be. May the spirit of Sophia be with you.